Sometimes, winning means making others lose everything. I whispered to my reflection, a small smile playing at the corners of my mouth. My wedding dress hung beside me, its delicate lace catching the morning light. Perfect, pristine, and soon to be the centerpiece of my carefully orchestrated revenge. The soft knock at my door pulled me from my thoughts. Michael, my fiancé, peeked in, his usually expressive face unnaturally neutral. That wasn't good. Michael always wore his emotions like billboards. "Melissa," he said softly, stepping inside and closing the door behind him. "Abigail called me last night." My stomach twisted. Of course she had. My sister never could let me have anything that was truly mine. "She's coming to the wedding, isn't she?" I asked, already knowing this was just the beginning. Michael let out a slow breath, his calculated pause telling me everything I needed to know. "Not just coming. She wants to walk down the aisle before you. In a wedding dress." For a moment, I thought I might actually laugh. It was so absurd, so insulting, yet so painfully predictable. Abigail had been my parents' golden child for as long as I could remember. If she wanted something, she got it. If I wanted something, I got whatever was left over. And now she wanted my wedding. I clenched my jaw, forcing down the wave of bitterness that threatened to overwhelm me. And my parents? Michael sat on the edge of the bed, running a hand over his face. "They're backing her up. They think it's only fair since she's older and hasn't gotten married yet." Fair. That word had never once worked in my favor. The memory of my high school play surfaced unbidden, 15 years old, standing on that stage, finally chosen for the lead role. Until Abigail decided she wanted to revisit her high school glory days. 1 week later, I was understudying my own sister. My grip on the vanity tightened. "And what did you say?" Michael met my eyes, and for the first time since he walked in, a slow, almost mischievous smile tugged at his lips. "I told them I'd think about it." I blinked, confusion momentarily replacing anger. "Think about it?" Michael leaned forward, his voice dropping to a whisper. "Melissa, we're going to use this to our advantage. Do you really think I'd ever let this happen? That I'd stand by while your sister turns our wedding into her personal fantasy? Then why not shut it down immediately? Because if we say no now, they'll just try to sabotage things another way." His fingers tapped against the bedpost, a habit I'd learned meant his strategic mind was at work. "But if they think they're getting what they want, we control the game." A shiver ran down my spine. This was a side of Michael I'd seen before, when he dealt with the corrupt landlord who tried to overcharge us, when his coworker attempted to throw him under the bus. It was the look of someone setting a trap. A slow smile crept across my lips, matching his calculating gaze. "Tell me the plan." "We let them believe they've won. We let Abigail think she'll have her moment." He paused, eyes glinting. "Then, when the day comes, we make sure she never gets the chance to walk down that aisle." A surge of something, vindication, excitement, power, bubbled in my chest. For the first time in my life, my sister was about to learn what it felt like to lose. We spent the next hour planning, plotting, weaving a web so intricate that even my ever-manipulative sister wouldn't see it coming. By the time we finished, I felt lighter than I had in years. The weight of always being second best, of constantly giving in, was lifting. The next evening, I sat across from my parents and Abigail in our childhood home's living room. My mother perched primly on the edge of the couch, hands folded in her lap like she was attending a royal meeting. My father leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, eyes unreadable. And Abigail, she was practically vibrating with barely contained triumph. "So," my mother began, smoothing her blouse, "Michael told us he was open to discussing the arrangement. Have you had time to think about it?" I forced a tight smile, playing my part perfectly. "Yes." I twisted my hands in my lap, feigning internal struggle. I don't love it," I admitted, "but if it means keeping peace in the family, I'm willing to make some compromises." The look of victory that flashed across Abigail's face was almost worth the bile rising in my throat. My father grunted in approval. "That's very mature of you, Melissa." Abigail, unable to contain herself any longer, leaned forward. "I already have a dress picked out," she gushed. I mean, obviously it won't be white, just a very pale champagne. But I found this stunning mermaid cut, and it's so elegant. When I walk down the aisle first, people will just think I'm part of the bridal party. It'll be symbolic, you know? A blessing, almost, from the older sister to the younger. I clenched my jaw so hard it ached. A blessing from her to me? I felt Michael squeeze my hand under the table, a silent reminder to hold steady. That sounds interesting, I said, keeping my voice measured. But if we're going to do this, I have a few conditions. The energy in the room shifted. My parents tensed slightly, and Abigail tilted her head. Conditions, she echoed, as if the concept was foreign to her. Michael jumped in smoothly. Just little things. If we're making adjustments for Abigail, then we'll need some help with the extra costs. That means budgeting for an upgraded venue, extra seating, catering. He gave a careful pause. We'll need some financial support. My mother waved a dismissive hand. Oh, that's not a problem. Of course we'll help. We want this to be special for both of you. Perfect. Also, Michael continued, since Abigail will be in the procession, we need to coordinate the dresses carefully. It has to look right in photos, which means we should get our dresses from the same boutique to ensure the colors complement each other. Abigail's eyes widened with excitement. Yes. We can go dress shopping together. I swallowed my revulsion and forced a smile. That would be great. What I didn't say was that I already had my dream dress, waiting for me at a boutique 2 towns over, far from Abigail's meddling hands. Anything else? My father asked. We'll also need to book a top-tier photographer and videographer, Daniel nodded. If Abigail is going to be part of the ceremony, we want to make sure it's documented properly. My mother smiled. Of course. And finally, I said, tilting my head slightly, if Abigail is walking down the aisle first, she won't be a bridesmaid, right? Abigail blinked. Huh. I kept my tone light, innocent. Well, if she's getting a moment in the spotlight, then she can't also be part of the bridal party. It would just be too much focus on one person. I think it's only fair. Abigail's face twitched. I could see the hesitation flicker across her features. She hadn't expected to lose anything in this exchange, but she had already won too much to argue now. She let out a delicate laugh, flipping her hair. I suppose that makes sense. A small sacrifice for such a special moment. And just like that, I had removed her from my wedding party. It wasn't a major victory yet, but it was the first step. The moment we walked out of my parents' house, Michael let out a low whistle. That was something. I exhaled, the weight of the night pressing down on me. I can't believe she actually thinks she's going to pull this off. Michael grinned. Oh, she'll try. But by the time we're done, she won't even see it coming. The plan was in motion. Now we just had to make sure Abigail, my parents, and everyone else kept believing it. Sometimes the best revenge isn't served cold, it's served with a smile and a carefully crafted illusion of surrender. A week later, I found myself standing in an upscale bridal boutique, surrounded by a sea of white and cream-colored dresses. The afternoon sun streamed through the large windows, casting an almost ethereal glow across the showroom. Abigail was already there, practically bouncing with excitement as she flipped through the racks. Oh, Melissa, look at this one. She pulled out a champagne-colored mermaid dress that probably cost more than my monthly salary. Isn't it just perfect? The way it catches the light. I forced myself to nod, maintaining the facade we'd carefully constructed. Beside me, our mother beamed with pride, completely oblivious to the trap we were setting. The boutique manager, a slim woman named Charlotte, approached with a practiced smile. Would you like to try it on, Miss Abigail? My sister practically squealed. Yes, absolutely. As Abigail disappeared into the fitting room, Michael's words echoed in my mind. We'd spent hours planning this particular scene. The dress would never be ordered, a miscommunication with the manufacturer would ensure that. But for now, we needed Abigail to fall in love with it. You know, our mother said, thumbing through another rack, this really is wonderful of you, Melissa. Letting your sister have this moment. I bit back the bitter response that threatened to escape. Instead, I smiled softly. Well, family is important, right? Mother reached out and patted my hand. You've grown so much. I remember when you used to fight with your sister over everything. Like that time with the school play. My jaw clenched involuntarily. Of course she would bring that up now. But before I could respond, Abigail emerged from the fitting room, and the sight nearly made me laugh out loud. The dress was a disaster. The champagne color she'd chosen looked more like dirty dishwater against her skin, and the mermaid cut did her no favors. But Abigail was twirling in front of the mirror, completely enchanted with her own reflection. It's perfect, she breathed. Don't you think it's perfect, Melissa? I stepped forward, playing my role perfectly. It's stunning, I lied. The color really makes a statement. Charlotte, the boutique manager, cleared her throat delicately. Shall we discuss the payment arrangements? Our mother immediately stepped in. Of course, we'll be handling that. Both dresses, actually. I watched as they discussed prices, knowing that the exorbitant amount my mother was about to spend would never result in an actual dress. It was almost poetic justice. Now, Charlotte turned to me, would you like to try on some dresses as well? I shook my head. Oh, not today. I'm still considering my options. My real dress was safely hidden away at another boutique, one that Abigail would never think to visit. The rest of the afternoon passed in a blur of champagne, fake smiles, and careful manipulation. When we finally left the boutique, my mother and Abigail were floating on cloud 9, completely unaware of what was coming. That evening, Michael and I met at our favorite coffee shop to discuss the next phase of our plan. The small corner booth provided perfect privacy for our conspiring. The guest list arrived today, Michael said, sliding an envelope across the table. Your mother's version, anyway. I opened it, scanning the names. Just as we'd expected, half of my friends had been mysteriously omitted, while Abigail's entire social circle was prominently featured. Perfect, I smiled, taking a sip of my latte. And our version? Michael patted his laptop bag. Already printed and ready to mail. By the time your mother realizes your friends are at the wedding, it'll be too late to do anything about it. And Abigail's friends? Their invitations will have an unfortunate encounter with a paper shredder. His eyes twinkled with mischief. But the real masterpiece is what I've arranged with the venue security. I leaned forward, intrigued. This was the part of the plan we hadn't fully fleshed out yet. I've hired a private security team, he explained. They'll have a very specific guest list, and very specific instructions about who's allowed in and who isn't. And Abigail won't be on that list, I finished, feeling a thrill of anticipation. Exactly. But here's the brilliant part, we're going to let her think she is. Right up until the moment she tries to enter. I could picture it perfectly, Abigail, in her ill-fitting champagne dress, being turned away at the door. The thought brought a smile to my face. But we need to be careful, Michael continued, his strategic mind always 3 steps ahead. Your sister's going to try something else. You know she won't be satisfied with just walking down the aisle first. He was right. I knew my sister better than anyone. She'll want to make a speech, I predicted. Something dramatic and attention-grabbing. Which is exactly why we're not having any unscheduled speeches at the reception. I've already talked to the DJ and the venue coordinator. Nothing happens without our explicit approval. I reached across the table and squeezed his hand. Have I told you lately that you're brilliant? He grinned. Once or twice. But I never get tired of hearing it. The next few weeks passed in a carefully orchestrated dance of deception. Abigail called almost daily, adding more and more requests to her growing list of demands. Each time, we appeared to acquiesce, all while tightening the noose. She wanted special lighting for her entrance? Of course, we'd make sure the lights were perfectly positioned to highlight her absence. A special introduction from the officiant? Absolutely, too bad she'd never make it inside to hear it. But the real test came 3 weeks before the wedding, when Abigail showed up at our apartment unannounced. I opened the door to find her standing there, practically vibrating with nervous energy. Melissa, we need to talk, she said, pushing past me into the living room. I've been thinking about the ceremony, and I have some concerns. I closed the door slowly, steeling myself. What kind of concerns? She paced the room, her designer heels clicking against the hardwood floor. I want to make sure everything is perfect. This is such a special moment for both of us. The audacity of that statement nearly made me laugh. Both of us. Yes. She stopped pacing, turning to face me. I mean, this is really about family, isn't it? About showing everyone how close we are, how supportive. I thought about the high school play, about every birthday that became about her, about every achievement of mine that she'd somehow managed to overshadow. Of course, I said softly. It's all about family. Abigail beamed, completely missing the edge in my voice. Exactly. Which is why I was thinking, maybe I could say a few words during the ceremony. Before I walked down the aisle. And there it was. Just as Michael had predicted. I don't know, Abigail, I said, feigning uncertainty. The ceremony timeline is pretty tight. Please. She grabbed my hands, her eyes wide and pleading. It would mean so much to me. I've already started writing the speech, it's beautiful, Melissa. Everyone will be crying. I bet they will, I thought. Just not for the reasons you think. Let me talk to Michael, I said finally. And the wedding coordinator. If we can make it work. Thank you. She threw her arms around me in an enthusiastic hug. You're the best sister ever. As I watched her practically skip out of our apartment, I couldn't help but smile. Every demand, every request, every little thing she tried to add to the ceremony, they were all just more nails in her own coffin. That night, as Michael and I lay in bed, I told him about Abigail's visit. A speech? He chuckled. She really can't help herself, can she? Never could, I agreed. She's always needed to be the center of attention. Well, he pulled me closer, she's certainly going to be the center of attention on our wedding day. Just not in the way she's expecting. I snuggled into his embrace, feeling more certain than ever that we were doing the right thing. Some might call it cruel, what we were planning. But after 27 years of being pushed aside, of being made to feel less than, of watching my sister take and take and take, this wasn't cruelty. This was justice. The final pieces of our plan fell into place over the next few weeks. The dress shop called Abigail to confirm her order, which, of course, didn't exist. Our mother tried to intervene, but without any paper trail or proof of payment, there was nothing she could do. The invitations went out, our version, not my mother's. The security team was briefed. The venue was prepared. And through it all, we maintained our perfect facade of compliance and cooperation. The night before the wedding, my phone rang. It was Abigail, panicking about her dress situation. I don't understand, she sobbed. They swear they never received the order, but Mom was there. We paid the deposit. I said, infusing my voice with just the right amount of concern. That's terrible. But I'm sure you can figure something out. Maybe borrow a dress. Borrow a dress? She sounded horrified. Melissa, this is your wedding. I can't just wear any old dress. Well, I paused for effect, maybe this is a sign. Maybe we should just keep things simple. You could be a bridesmaid after all. No. The force of her response made me pull the phone away from my ear. No, I'll figure something out. I'll find a dress. It'll be perfect. Everything will be perfect. After I hung up, Michael found me standing by our bedroom window, looking out at the city lights. Having second thoughts, he asked softly. I turned to face him, my heart full of certainty. Not even for a second. Tomorrow, everything would change. Tomorrow, my sister would finally learn what it felt like to be the one left out, left behind, left wanting. Tomorrow, for the first time in my life, I would win. And I couldn't wait. The morning of my wedding arrived with an eerie sense of calm. I sat in my bridal suite, sipping coffee and watching the sunrise paint the sky in shades of pink and gold. My wedding dress, the one I'd kept hidden all these months, hung pristinely by the window. At 9:17 a.m., exactly as Michael had predicted, chaos erupted in the hallway outside my suite. I could hear my mother's agitated voice through the door as she argued with someone on the phone. "What do you mean they can't find another dress?" "Well, look harder. This is an emergency." I took another sip of my coffee, enjoying the warmth of both the drink and the moment. In the background, I could hear my bridesmaids chattering as they got ready, blissfully unaware of the drama unfolding. At 10:30 a.m., my phone buzzed with a message from Michael. It was a photo of the venue entrance, where a group of confused and increasingly angry people were gathering, Abigail's friends, all dressed up with nowhere to go. "Security's doing their job perfectly," his message read. "No one without an official invitation is getting in." I smiled, remembering how meticulously we'd planned this part. The official guest list, carefully curated to exclude Abigail's entire social circle, was now being enforced with military precision. At 11:15 a.m., my father arrived at the bridal suite. His face was a storm cloud of barely contained fury. "The security team won't let anyone in without an invitation," he announced, his voice tight with controlled anger. "Not even family." I looked up from my makeup mirror, the picture of innocent confusion. "That's weird. I specifically told them only invited guests should be allowed in." "Is something wrong?" "Don't play games, Melissa," he growled. "Your sister is standing outside in tears. Fix this." I met his gaze in the mirror. "Dad, I'm getting married in less than 2 hours. I'm sure whatever the problem is, it can be sorted out. Why don't you talk to the venue manager?" He stood there for a moment, and I could see it in his eyes, the dawning realization that for once, he couldn't fix this for Abigail. For once, his golden child would have to face disappointment. The ceremony itself was perfect. As I walked down the aisle, I could feel the whispers and sideways glances from the guests who'd witnessed the drama outside. But none of that mattered. For once in my life, I was the center of attention, and no one, especially not Abigail, could take that away from me. Michael beamed at me from the altar, his eyes twinkling with our shared secret. We'd done it. We'd actually done it. The real fireworks began at the reception. I was barely seated at the head table when my mother approached, her face a mask of barely contained rage. "I hope you're happy," she hissed, quietly enough that only Michael and I could hear. "Your sister is devastated." I took a sip of champagne. "Mom, I really don't understand what the problem is. The venue was very clear about their security policies. Don't." Her voice cracked like a whip. "Don't pretend this isn't exactly what you planned." Before I could respond, the doors to the reception hall burst open. Abigail stood there, her mascara streaked down her face, wearing what appeared to be a hastily borrowed dress that didn't quite fit. She looked nothing like the triumphant figure she'd imagined she'd be. The room fell silent as she stormed toward our table. Guests turned to stare, whispers rippling through the crowd. This was the moment we'd been waiting for, Abigail's public meltdown. "You did this," she shrieked, pointing an accusatory finger at me. "You planned all of this." I maintained my composure, years of practice helping me keep my expression neutral. "Abigail, you're making a scene." "A scene?" She laughed, the sound bordering on hysteric. "You want to talk about scenes? You orchestrated this entire thing. The dress, the invitations, everything." "Abigail," our father warned, appearing at her side. But for once, his presence didn't calm her. "No." She slammed her hands on the table, making the glasses rattle. "I want her to admit it. Admit that you did this to hurt me." I set down my champagne glass and looked her directly in the eyes. "The only person who tried to hurt anyone was you, Abigail. You tried to make my wedding about you. Like you've done with everything else in my life." The truth of those words seemed to hit her like a physical blow. She staggered back slightly, her face paling. I was trying to make it special," she stammered. "No," I said softly, but loud enough for nearby guests to hear. "You were trying to steal my moment. Like you always have. But not this time." Something snapped in her eyes. With a scream of rage, she grabbed the nearest wine glass and hurled it at me. Michael, anticipating this, caught it smoothly midair. The gasps from the guests were audible. Abigail froze, suddenly aware of her audience. I watched as she looked around, seeing herself through their eyes for the first time, not as the beloved older sister making a touching gesture, but as a jealous woman having a public meltdown at someone else's wedding. Our father grabbed her arm. "That's enough," he said firmly, but I could hear the unfamiliar note in his voice. For the first time, he was ashamed of her. As they led her away, I could hear the murmurs from the guests. "I can't believe she did that. How embarrassing. Poor Melissa, having to deal with that on her wedding day." I caught Michael's eye and saw his subtle wink. The plan had worked perfectly. Abigail had shown her true colors to everyone, and there was no coming back from this. The air felt lighter after Abigail's dramatic exit. For the first time in my life, I wasn't waiting for the next fight, wasn't bracing for another betrayal. I was married, happy, free. The honeymoon flight was early the next morning. As we waited to board, my phone buzzed. My mother. Michael glanced over. "Don't do it. Don't let them drag you back in." But I picked up, ready for this final battle. "Mom. You've really done it this time," she hissed. "Your sister is devastated. She had to be sedated last night." I let out a soft laugh that made her pause. "Sedated? Really, Mom?" Abigail always did have a flair for the dramatic. "I learned that during the high school play, remember?" "How dare you?" "No, how dare you?" I cut her off, my voice sharp and clear. "Let's talk about how you and Dad devastated me for 27 years. Every birthday that became about Abigail. Every achievement you dismissed. Every time you made me feel like I wasn't enough. We never. You know what's funny?" I continued, feeling stronger with each word. The video of Abigail's meltdown yesterday has already been shared in 3 different social circles. Her throwing that glass, screaming like a banshee. I wonder what her clients would think if they saw it. Dead silence. "Melissa," my mother's voice wavered. "You wouldn't dare." "Oh, but I would," I said coldly. "And that's just the beginning. I have years of evidence, emails, texts, recordings of how you treated me. Would you like me to share those too?" I heard my father's voice demanding the phone. "Young lady, you will not threaten." "Or what, Dad?" I cut in. "You'll take away my inheritance?" "Go ahead. I'm a senior editor now. My salary is probably higher than Abigail's ever was. You can't hurt me anymore." 3 months after our honeymoon, I heard through the grapevine that Abigail had lost her biggest clients. Apparently, the video of her wedding meltdown had accidentally reached their inboxes. Her carefully crafted professional image was in shambles. 6 months later, she had to move back in with our parents after losing her job at the family real estate firm. The board had decided she was too volatile to handle client relations. I heard she tried to blame me for her downfall, but everyone had seen her true nature at the wedding. There was no coming back from that. As for our parents, their perfect family facade crumbled spectacularly. The annual Christmas gala was cancelled, no one would RSVP. Their country club membership became awkward as whispers followed them everywhere. The family that had once been the toast of their social circle was now its cautionary tale. 1 year after the wedding, I received a thick envelope from their lawyer. Inside was paperwork showing they'd transferred a significant portion of their assets to me, property, stocks, savings accounts. A desperate attempt to buy back my silence, my forgiveness. I transferred it all to a charitable foundation supporting children from dysfunctional families. Then I sent them the receipt with a simple note: some things can't be bought. Especially not love. The final blow came when I received an email from my father. The subject line read, "Please. Melissa. Your mother is ill. The stress of everything, she needs you. Abigail isn't handling things well. Please come home. Dad." I stared at the screen for a long moment, then typed my response. "Isn't it ironic that now you need me? After years of making me feel unnecessary?" Tell Mom I hope she gets better. Tell Abigail to grow up. And you, Dad? You get to live with the consequences of always choosing the wrong daughter. Don't contact me again. Melissa. That night, as Michael and I sat on our balcony watching the sunset, he asked me, no regrets. None, I replied, smiling. They spent 27 years teaching me that family means sacrifice. That love means giving up what you want. That I should always put Abigail first. And now they get to learn that actions have consequences. That you can't abuse someone's love forever and expect them to keep coming back. That sometimes, the best revenge is living well, and making sure those who hurt you know exactly how well you're living without them. Michael kissed my temple. To living well, then. To living free, I corrected. I had spent 27 years being the second choice, the afterthought, the one who always had to give way. But now I was the victor. Abigail was living in her childhood bedroom, our parents were social pariahs, and I was thriving. The old Melissa might have felt guilty. The new Melissa? She knew that some people don't deserve second chances. Some bridges aren't meant to be repaired. Some families need to be left in ruins. And as I looked out at the setting sun, I felt absolutely magnificent. Because in the end, I hadn't just won, I had shown them exactly what they had lost. And that was the sweetest victory of all.